The Master Phil in Your Corner podcast is brought to you by philross.com. Books, videos, Master Phil's survival strong living supplements, as well as self-reliance and performance enhancement presentations. It is also brought to you by the Body Bell Method, workshops and certifications, the world's only kettlebell, bodyweight, and dynamic tension system that carries continuing education credits for trainers, instructors, coaches, doctors of physical therapy, and chiropractors. In-person and virtual options are available. Please visit bodybellmethod.com. Greetings and welcome to another episode of Master Phil in Your Corner. This is episode number 140, and we're discussing the making of managing back pain for dummies. We have a couple of very, very talented and special guests. We have the co-author of the book with me, Dr. Patrick Roth. The guy is an incredible neurosurgeon. One of the most intelligent people I've ever run across in my life. And then we have Joe Kraynak, who took the gobbledygook that Pat and I put together and made it into something that was incredibly beneficial and just incredibly. I don't even know how to describe what you did with our stuff, Joe. So it just put it into such prose that people can really gain a lot, and it was like he was in our heads. So let me just go, Pat, if you can just give a quick introduction about yourself, and then Joe will go to you, and then we're just going to take it from there. Okay, so Pat, just give everyone a little bit of your background.
Well, as you said, I'm a neurosurgeon. I've been in practice for 31 years. Started off doing general neurosurgery. I didn't really want to specialize. I enjoyed everything, but along the career path, at some point, I asked myself, what do I enjoy and what am I good at? And I recognized that I really liked spine within the field of neurosurgery. And I think that's because, unlike brain tumors or aneurysms or other things that we do in neurosurgery, there's very little decision process in those things. It's kind of like, well, here's the lesion. Now, how well can you take it out? Or how well can you deal with it technically? But with the spine, it's much more nuanced, I think. And here's a patient with a problem. How can you help them? Sometimes it's not with surgery. There's many different ways to help people. And so I really loved not only the technical part of neurosurgery, but the decision-making process. And early in my career, when I was really focused in on the spine, I put a lot of energy into trying to decipher what someone's back pain generator was. And then I was very interested in using minimally invasive techniques to cure the problem, solve the problem, eliminate the pain generator. But I realized over time that it was kind of short-sighted and was much more to pain, for example, than just a pain generator. And I got really interested in the rehab of spine, both cognitive rehab and physical rehab. And of course, it helped to be a patient myself.
So you looked at this. You looked at this as a more holistic approach to back pain.
Yeah. I mean, pain is never as simple as a pain generator. There's always an interpretive or contextual element to the pain. And the human body and the human brain are remarkable organs that can be leveraged to make pain better. It's not just a simple, even if you do surgery, there has to be therapy as well.
Yes.
But anyway, that's my story. And, and this book was the latest in my journey. I had written a book in 2014 called The End of Back Pain. This is sort of a version of that book that really goes deeper, and particularly into the physical and cognitive therapies for back pain. And it's really, we'll talk about it later, I'm sure, but it's really styled in a do-it-yourself way. We really want patients to feel empowered and knowledgeable. And I just want to throw, before Joe introduces himself, it's easy to say, well, he's a good writer, and so he was able to take our gobbledygook and translate it into good prose, but it's much more than that. In order to be a good writer, You have to be a good thinker. You have to understand the subject. And I'm always in awe of a writer who puts the energy and time into bothering to understand it himself, because you can't write it until you understand it. And so I echo what you said, but I'll take it one step further. He's a writer and a great thinker as well.
Yes,
Anyway,
100%. Joe, tell us a little bit about your background. Like, I mean, honestly, other than us, I mean, without you, this project could not have been possible.
Well, I've been in the publishing business for about over 30 years. I started out writing computer books for Macmillan Computer Publishing. So I was a writer, editor in-house at Macmillan,
Mhm.
and wrote books like Complete Idiot's Guide to PCs and books on Windows, and just basically for beginning level users. And then I got kind of tired of trying to stay atop of all the technical changes. And so I started teaming up with writers in different fields, experts in different fields. So I wrote, I think the first Dummies book I wrote was Bipolar Disorder for Dummies.
Wow.
And then I've worked on Flipping Houses for Dummies and Oceans for Dummies. I got to work with Philippe and Ashlyn Cousteau.
No way.
Philippe is, yeah, so that was kind of cool. They were fun to work with.
Yeah, the undersea
And
world of Jacques Cousteau.
yeah, and I worked in skateboarding for dummies with Dewan Song. I don't know if you
Ah,
know him.
yeah,
He's quite the skateboarder.
yeah. Was
So
he in the Olympics?
I don't think the Olympics were
This
around
is
when he was
something.
like at his peak,
Yeah, X
but I think
Games.
that kind of came later.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's involved in that now. But
yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
so I appreciate you guys what you did and the compliments you've given me for being a writer and everything. So
Well,
I was just glad to have play a contributing role in the books,
well,
making it happen.
let me ask you this. When you, I mean, if you look at the breadth of what you've of the subject you've written on, how how do you just get into this? I mean, from skateboarding to back pain to Jacques Cousteau to computer literate books. How do you like just dive into that and absorb all that? Because like Pat said, you know, you just didn't put it into something. You immersed yourself in this and you knew about the subject and you provided great feedback and you got into our heads. Like, how do you do that? How did you develop that talent?
Well, I think it's just being curious about things. I just love learning about just about any topic,
Mm.
except probably like financial topics. They don't appeal to me. But this one in particular, like I have relatives who've had back pain. And I've read a couple of Dr. Sarno's books, and
Mhm.
so I knew about, I had some background there. And I also work with some functional medicine doctors doing blog posts. And
Mhm.
so the whole holistic approach to back pain really appealed to me.
Now,
And when I heard that's what you guys were all about, that kind of resonated with me.
so how do you think that what we've done here coincides with Sarnoff and functional medicine and all that? I mean, do you see parallels? Do you see disparities? Do you see differences, good or bad?
Oh, I see a lot of alignment, and I see it in my own life too. Like, I've been I just turned 65 and I got Medicare. So I'm
Yeah.
going through getting all these tests and finding out everything that's wrong with me.
Oh,
And
geez.
I thought I was healthy, but now, I got these health issues. And just being able to team up with a doctor, like I had doctors wanting to put me on blood pressure medicine. And I said, let's hold off on that. And I'll try, making some dietary changes. And I stopped drinking and started exercising. And I was able to bring my blood pressure down to a level and maintain it where it's healthy. And the same thing with my cholesterol levels were off and triglycerides were up. And, just some simple dietary changes made that more manageable. But I think like you guys point out in the book, you have to kind of partner with your doctor and really take ownership of your own health. And I really agree with you on that. And I think, a lot of the functional medicine, you're right in line with that.
Well, in our estimation, it's not a spectator sport, your health.
Right.
You have to be an active participant. And the thing is like Pat, you want to take off there on some of the things that we guide people through and show them how to like do it yourself and how to take control and how to actually work in partnership instead of just listening, go, okay, okay, okay. Say, hey, what else can I do? How can I contribute to this? How can I take control? How can I develop efficacy in my health?
I mean, yeah, that definitely. I mean, well, first of all, I want to just pass one comment about Joe, because one thing I remember, not that I've ever met you in person, but I remember you telling me you're 6'9" or something crazy like that, right? Is that, am I
No,
correct?
that's my son, 6'8", about 350 pounds. Yeah.
Okay. So
Wow.
He's a big boy.
what popped into my head though was with, which in the animal kingdom, you know which animal has the highest blood pressure?
Gorilla,
Giraffe?
Giraffe.
giraffe.
Because and so the bigger and taller you are, you're entitled to a little bit of blood pressure increase. But you're right. I mean, how quick is our medical system to put people on antihypertensive medication for blood pressure? And part of that is the influence that the companies had to make these blood pressure medications. But there are all sorts of very well proven ways to get your blood pressure down without medication. And I'm not saying it's appropriate for everybody, but losing weight and getting better cardiovascular fitness and changing your diet. For example, vegetarian or vegan diets lead to lower blood pressure in the vast majority of people on them. But I think we kind of styled this book. One of the ideas that I had a long time ago was that you take somebody who has a heart attack in the United States, and what do? Well, they go to their doctor, right? Minor heart attack. They go to the doctor, and the doctor says you need to be on a cardiac diet and a cardiac exercise program, and you need to be on aspirin and beta blockers and anti-cholesterol medication, and et cetera, et cetera. And really the emphasis is on the medication. But what the underlying concept is that the medical system is going to mitigate your bad heart. But what they don't say to you is, hey, how about changing your heart? Make your heart different. And you can change your heart. When you look at the coronary arteries of people who run marathons, they're gigantic.
Yes.
And if you look at Phil's ankle and fist, because he's a martial art guy, from punching things, his bone is twice as thick as a normal person's bone. Your body adapts over time. Why not use that ability to adapt in a positive way? So if you have back pain, instead of using the medical system to mitigate your back pain, how about changing your back, making your back different? So that was kind of the idea we had. And we took it one step further, and not only do you change your back, but you change your mind, or you change your brain. And there's a psychology discipline called embodied cognition, which is a fancy way of looking at this brain-body interface and synergy. And it turns out by changing your body, you will change your mind. And by changing your mind, you will change your body. And you can leverage this synergy very much for back pain. And so that was kind of the basis of managing back pain. And we wanted to make it so that patient took ownership of it, did it themselves, and leveraged this synergy between mind and body. That was kind of the background for the book.
Pat, why don't you address that one study that was done with the two groups of maids that were doing those tasks? Because it just shows the difference and the influence of the mindset on the body. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's part of the work. I follow the work of this psychologist at Stanford named Alia Crum. And she's done some amazing things, but she looked at housekeepers, and the two groups, there was no intervention other than educational. One group was just told some stuff about housekeeping or something like that. The other group was pointed out to the housekeepers that, housekeeping is an unbelievable caloric expenditure. You're bending down, you're picking things up, you're on your feet all day long. It's an amazing exercise. And so just educating that one group that, and they just looked at them. No other intervention, no dietary changes, anything like that. And that group that had that different mindset about their career ended up having smaller weight sizes down the line and losing weight relative to the other group down the line. And like the other research she does, the idea is that what you think about your health is an independent determinant of your health. And that's one of the very many ways that the mind can alter the body. If you ask people how active they are, for example, and they give you an answer, and then you actually measure how active they are, you can oftentimes get a different answer. Well, interestingly, and this is another study she did, but interestingly enough, how active you think you are is a better predictor of when you're going to die than how active you actually are. Again, the mind has a huge influence on our health. And she's done multiple studies like this. It's fascinating. She did a milkshake study where they gave two different groups of subjects milkshakes. One was told the milkshake was high calories, filling, meal replacement.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was a diet milkshake. And they actually measured the body's response to the milkshakes. And then they switched groups. So each group got both milkshakes, except it wasn't different milkshakes. It was always the same milkshake. But the group that thought the milkshake was high caloric and filling and meal replacement acted in a very different way physiologically than the group that thought it was a diet milkshake. Again, what you think of your health is an independent determinant of your health. I mean, what you do to your body is very important also. But what we tend to underestimate is what you think about your health and how much it affects your health.
If you look at hope, and if you look at your mindset and what your body can actually do, I'm sure you guys are familiar. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't, but with this experiment that was done where the scientists took a rat, threw it in a bucket of water, and after 15 minutes of swimming, it drowned. So they took another rat, they threw it in a bucket of water, and after about 15 minutes, it started to drown. They took it out of the water, dried it off, let it get all nice and warm. They threw it back in the water. How long do you think that rat swam for?
Well,
Do you know that experiment?
I'm familiar with the experiment.
Yeah, like 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they took the rat out. So the thing is that that rat had hope. And this is something that I put forth to people, for their mindset is like, look, you're able to do a lot more than you think you can do. If you ever worked with Navy SEALs, when you feel like you are completely exhausted, you're only 40% there. So the thing is that this rat had this hope that, hey, I paddle a little more, I'm going to get rescued. I'm going to get rescued. Of course, they wound up taking the rat out, and then they fed him to a boa constrictor. No, only kidding. But if you look at that what that rat did, there's nothing special about that rat. It's just that rat had hope. It was no different than the other one.
There's another side of that study, which
Yeah.
is learned helplessness as well. And humans can learn to be helpless.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's one of the other themes of the book, which is that we really try to promote this concept of self-efficacy,
Yes.
which is the inner belief that you can overcome a particular medical predicament. That's an independent determinant of health. All other things being equal, if you believe you can overcome it compared to someone else who doesn't believe that,
Yeah.
you will enjoy better health than that other person.
Look, there's so many things that start in the mind, and in my opinion, if it starts there, it can end there. Joe, I know you've had some experience in this. What are some of your thoughts on some of the things we're talking about here, and some of the things we advocate in the book?
Well, I don't know. I do a lot of, I've done a lot of work on these New Thought books, which is The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. And I really do think there is something to that you're somehow, connected, like your body heals itself. I mean, you cut your hand and it heals all by itself. You don't have to think about it or give it instruction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that is, with your back as well. It can, your body can heal itself. It has all the instruction and substances it needs to do that. So I think if you really believe that it can do that, it will.
Yeah, the back wants to be healthy, the body wants to be healthy. We have so much inside of us already to heal ourselves. And one of the things that I think that's important about actually working out and training is that when you work out, you push your body and you get sore, right? So you're breaking it down and healing. So if you're working out a lot, chance of you healing are better than someone who never trains because they haven't taught their body how to actually heal itself, and it kind of brings us to this the principle, the SAID principle, which is specific adaptation to impose demand. And another thing that a lot of people don't know, that if you push yourself while you're training, the body will actually create more capillaries for you to bring more blood to the system, more blood to the muscles. It's kind of an amazing adaptation, and I don't know how many people really are privy to that information, but it is something that it is a phenomenon that does occur. With that specific adaptation to impose demand, the body's like, "Hey, I'm being pushed. I have to get more blood to this area. I have to do it faster. I have to do it harder, and that's why your heart rate will go down. Or your resting heart rate will go down because the heart has become stronger, more resilient.
Well, I know exercise really helps me as far as I have some lung issues and just I breathe a lot better when I'm exercising regularly. And it doesn't take that much. It's like, 30 minutes on a rowing machine and some push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and
Boom.
you know, hour workout, and I feel 100% better. So
Yeah. Did you know the British Journal of Medicine came out with a study that showed even 5 minutes of exercise and movement is helpful.
Yeah.
I don't think you get fit doing that, but hey, it's better than nothing.
yeah.
Yeah. There's an interest. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term symorphosis, but it's really interesting concept. So if you look on a cellular level, take an individual cell,
Right.
cells got DNA, and for many years we learned, when I went to medical school, we learned that most of that DNA is called junk DNA. But there, part of the DNA codes for replication of the cell, and a part of the DNA codes for the production of proteins. We now know that all this so-called extra DNA that we called junk DNA for many years really prepares the cell to adapt to an environment, because you can't predict what a cell's environment is going to be. So it has to have a style of adaptation. So if you take those cells and you put them together in an organ, and then the organs in a full living human, the entire human uses that DNA to adapt. And one of the ways that DNA changes, this is a whole other discussion, something called epigenetics, where you actually change the expression of your genes. So your genes are fixed, but the expression of your genes can change depending on environmental stimuli. But we
Can you
are,
give an example of that
we
changing?
are totally designed to adapt and change, starting from the cell all the way up to the whole living body.
Can you give an example of that change that you're speaking to? So, like a real life example of that, so we can grasp it.
Well, I mean, so I'll give you for the epigenetic thing.
Yeah.
One example would be if your mother were pregnant
Mhm.
during, say, the potato famine in Ireland, or some other period of history where there just wasn't enough food during some of the wars.
Mhm.
Um, Particularly, I think it's the second trimester. But if they're pregnant during that time,
Yeah.
their genes will change and become more adept at hanging on to calories and food. You, as the offspring of your mother, are much more likely to be obese because of that.
Okay.
And really contradicts Darwin's theory of evolution, which is only the favorable traits survive. And so over many, 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 many generations, people change and get more apt to survive.
Yeah.
But this is potentially a one generational thing. Your mother's starving during pregnancy.
Sure.
Her genes change. She passes them on to you, and therefore you become obese.
Hmm. Well,
Anyway, that's an example. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, but actually, the body is being developed in that fashion because it needs to hold on to those calories for survival.
right, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting, interesting. Hey, Joe, when you saw some of the information that came in, let's take something that Pat brought in. Anything stick out in your mind that when you saw it, how did you put it into the format for the dummies for people to be able to understand it? For lay people to understand it, because you can obviously tell, speaking of Pat, he's extremely intelligent. So,
Well, I think a lot of times all I'm doing is trying to break down paragraphs into like some kind of list.
yeah.
And I think you guys kind of struggled with providing people with enough detail because I think when you're an expert, you make assumptions.
Hmm.
And so I have to play the dummy like a patient of yours
Yeah.
and try to extract that information just by asking questions or, from my own knowledge, filling in some of the blanks and then having you guys come back behind me and correct anything that I got wrong.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the way I work it. And I think when you break down paragraphs into lists, you kind of see what you have more of, and you see if you're, being redundant or if you're omitting any information that you really should be in there. And so a lot of it's just formatting and asking questions. So
Yeah, I think that was one of the greatest takeaways that I personally got from working with you is, hey, break it down to lists. You know,
yeah,
pop, 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 pop. Because
yeah,
like you said, because most of the stuff that Pat and I don't even think about, most people have no idea of. Things that
right.
we do every day, all the time for decades, decades. I've been in my field for, I don't know, over 40 years. And it's just, you're just used to doing it. And sometimes you miss those things that, you know, someone who's never done it before or has never been privy to this information has no idea. And that making of the lists was an excellent
And I
work.
know you guys probably remember, but we kicked chapters back and forth a lot. And
Yeah.
so there are a lot of times when we were just filling in the blanks and once you see something broken out into a list, you say, "Oh yeah, I'm missing this," or
Yes.
you know, yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Because
and it makes it a lot more accessible for the reader too to get in there and get the information they need.
how many dummies books have you done?
I think probably about 100, maybe more. I don't know.
Holy
There's
cow.
a few that we've done several editions of, like the bipolar. I think is on third or fourth edition.
Oh,
Flipping
really?
houses are third or fourth edition. Yeah,
So let me ask you. So now, okay, so the bipolar is on the third or fourth edition, you're saying. And
right.
so do you go back to the same author? Do they
Yeah,
go back to the same author?
yeah. And
Is
it
bipolar
just
2 in that?
what's that?
Is bipolar 2 in that
Oh
one?
yeah, bipolar one, bipolar two, and some other types. There's cyclothymic bipolar, and
Uh,
where it's kind of a quick changes,
yeah,
from and kind of mixed mo mixed moods.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. Pat, what was some of your favorite parts of the book to write? I know it's kind of a tough question to answer, but
Um,
some of
I
your
guess
favorite parts?
to me, I like um, anything where you challenge convention. Um, I guess I come at it from the position that the healthcare system is pretty badly broken. Incentives are wrong. Particularly the financial incentives that run through healthcare, and I think people uh, tend to presume certain things. For example, when people have degenerative discs, they presume it's related to beating up their back
Hmm.
from their lifestyle. And but interestingly, it's just the opposite. If anything, if you stretch your back, you'll make it look better. If you look at the MRIs, for example, of they've done this study where they look at obese people and skinny people that happen to be identical twins. One turns out to be much heavier than the other. Which MRI do you think looks better? Well, you would think that the skinny person has better looking MRI, but it's just the opposite, because the stress of the weight causes the spine to react to it and get better.
Yeah.
People assume that if you lose weight, your back pain will go away. Well, that's not what the literature says at all. And yet every doctor out there prescribes weight losses for back pain.
Oh, so
So
how do you?
I guess the best part for me is to look at either contradictions or things that people assume incorrectly and try to make them think differently.
Well, people often confuse the word stress as a negative connotation, but we have distress, which is the negative one, and we have eustress, which is the good one. When we put our bodies into eustress, it responds with, like I said before, the specific adaptation to impose demand. If you're heavy, right, that your body has to carry that body, so it's going to actually be stronger. Of course, it's better to be stronger from being in shape and training than it is from being obese. But the eustress is something that is very beneficial to us, both physically and emotionally. Joe, have you seen any evidence of that in any of the other books that you've written too?
Well, I've seen it in my evidence in my son, who's very large, and his strength amazes me. Like he can just pick up like a wash machine
Yeah.
where I would have to have like two people somebody to help me. He could just lift it and move it. And he sometimes thinks he's out of shape, but I tell him all the time, like you're stronger than 90% of the people I know.
Yeah. So Pat, now, do you want to tell people a little bit more about the notion of eustress and how it helps the system?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's an upside to stress, and I like to use the term anti-fragile, which I kind of stole from a financial guy, actually, but a guy named Nasib Taleb. He wrote a book called Anti-Fragile, but it really applies to the human body, and it has to do with the upside of stress. And what I've discovered in now 31 years of practice is that people most often fail not by overstressing their bodies, but by understressing their bodies.
Yeah.
And so, but people think it's just the opposite of that. There are people who are terrified of overstressing their bodies. And by the way, every medical book, I'm sure in our book somewhere this disclaimer was included. I don't remember, but please consult your doctor before doing this do-it-yourself book, which I find ridiculous because most doctors know very little about this. And so that's a cover your ass type of thing to put that every book puts in there. But I don't believe that. I think, look, if you were doing proper therapy, it's not unlikely that you won't set yourself back. That's part of the process. But again, you're more likely to fail by always staying underneath the eustress, understressing.
Yeah.
And so when physical therapists push their patients, and they're terrified to do this because they're afraid their patient's going to blame them for the setbacks. I always tell a physical therapist, if your patients get set back, I'm okay with that. That means you're doing your job. You're pushing them enough to make them improve. And with that is going to come some setbacks. That's just part of life. But I'd rather you do that than not push them enough to play it safe, because they won't get better in that case. They'll be understressed.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't go out of the comfort zone, you're not going to progress. I don't care what it is, whether it's therapy, running, lifting weights, studying. If you're not putting yourself out there and you're not challenging your mind, your body, you're not going to improve, and you'll at best stagnate. So, it's something I really think that we need to get across to people is that be willing to go that extra mile, be willing to push the envelope a little bit. Look, we were always told when you hurt your back, oh, rest, 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 rest. Nothing. I tell people, attack the back, get off your back, attack it. Your back hurts you. You know what? do some of the exercises. Look, you're in pain anyway. What's the difference? It's just that unfortunately, a lot of people, people are motivated by two things, right? Avoidance of pain and seeking of pleasure. So a lot of people say, hey, you know what? Oh, I go to the doctor. You should take this pill. I'll feel better. I got pleasure in my back. I don't have pain in my back. But when the pills wear off, the pain comes back. What did you do to make it stronger? What did you do to improve your situation? The pill was just temporary, did not get to the root of, like you said, like the pain generator, did not make the area stronger. Matter of fact, it probably weakened it because you didn't use it.
Well, I think people presume that pain is going to be their, there's feedback, and they presume that something inside them is broken, and that when the pain hits, it's alerting them to the danger of that broken thing. And in order to move on, whatever is broken has to be fixed before they can heal. And we, by the way, we have in the book, we included a bunch of red flags, which are situations in which maybe you should go a little slowly here. Maybe there is something dangerous. But aside from that, again, I'll stick to what I said before. People usually err too much on the side of caution.
Yeah.
Another great study was they took a bunch of military guys and put them in bed for 2 or 3 weeks. Basically, all of them developed back pain that was indistinguishable from an injury to the back. So we know that bed rest over a period of time, not only do you lose muscle mass and bone mass by lying in bed, but you actually create back pain conditions. And so, by the way, just going full circle back, earlier we mentioned John Sarno and his books. His books had there were two components to his books. One was that most, and I don't agree with the first one, by the way, but most back pain is a manifestation of some latent fear or anxiety or anger or some emotion that's coming out in back pain. And the second part was, once you understand that, your back pain will go away, and you just get up and get on with your life. That was his success really came from part number 2, get up and get on with your life. That's where his success came from. And I think the first part was kind of like Freud, he was maybe a brilliant guy that made up a lot of theories, but had no proof of it at all. But the second part has so much empirical proof that people can do a lot more than their brain is telling them they can do when they're in pain, and it ends up being helpful. Those that make that leap of faith and get up and do are rewarded with improvement.
Yeah, and it's only because they were willing to go outside the comfort zone.
Yeah, but you got a medical system that preys on these people.
Yep.
We're in a paternalistic way. Come to us, we'll fix you. Don't try to do it yourself. And by the way, we get paid to fix you as well.
Right.
But
yeah, and we're not obviously we're not against the medical community at all, but it's just that there's more than one answer. If you look at this, it's a wheel with all these different spokes, and the back pain is at the center. How are we going to address this? Are we just going to use one method? No, because one method doesn't work. You have to explore these different avenues. You have to put all these different spokes in. You have to have a good diet. You have to have exercise. You have to have proper therapy. You have to have proper manipulation. You have to develop the strength of the support muscles. If you don't have the strength of the support muscles, that back will go out again. I will guarantee that.
Yeah, and like Joe said before, we're designed to heal ourselves. That's the way.
Yeah.
So you have to have some faith, and thousands and thousands of years of evolution have created a human being that is designed to heal itself. Not all the time, but most of the time.
Yeah.
And have some faith in that process. Even if you just get up and get on with your life and don't do. I mean, I agree with everything you said, but even if you just got up and got on with your life, time and the natural capacity of the human body will heal the majority of people.
Yep, absolutely.
One of the things, Phil, that I really liked working with you guys, because Pat mentioned the fragile. We're not fragile.
Anti-fragile.
Yeah.
And one of the things you wrote in one of your early emails when we're just starting the project, I'm going to read it. It said, Phil and I are not fragile. We need you to be direct. And that's,
Yeah.
you guys wanted somebody to step in and kind of direct you and challenge you. And I think that's kind of the role I played is in part of that. But I appreciate that you guys were willing to get in there and, mess things up a little bit to create a great product. So,
Hey,
It's to me, it comes down to the growth mindset. You know, if
yeah,
you shouldn't take pride in things that that your natural ability. You should take pride in what you can make of yourself. And so I would rather be told, no, that's a piece of shit that you just handed me, for the following reasons, so I can make it better, than for you to say, oh,
right.
it's pretty good, pretty good. Maybe I'll just tweak it a little bit. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me exactly what's wrong so I can make it better.
Yeah. That's the whole thing about making books. I think we want to, it can't be an ego thing. No, if egos get involved, then it usually hurts the quality of the product. But if everybody's committed to making a quality product and serving the needs of the reader, I think then that's when really the magic happens and you create something really great. And that's what I think happened with this book.
yeah. I'm excited for October 27th when this thing drops. I'm super
Yeah, do
excited.
you have a copy yet?
No, we don't have anything yet.
Oh,
No, no, we need it. It's 2 weeks
yeah,
away. Not even.
yeah.
Yeah, 12 days away. So
Wow.
yeah, I guess they're supposed to be to us shortly. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
We should be getting them. Yep.
All right, great, awesome. Joe, you working on any new projects right now, or
I'm kind of between projects. I do a lot of different things. So I'm working on a book about Japanese watercolor.
Oh my gosh.
wow, I have
So
no
it
idea.
was translated from Japanese to Italian and now to English. And so I'm kind of going in there and making sure it still makes sense in English.
Well, let's hope nothing
And
gets lost in translation.
yeah. And then I worked on a little custom publication that the Dummies do. They do some small books for companies just
Yeah.
on spec.
Oh, cool.
And so this is about math. So it's a kind of a tech topic.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So those are fun because they're just like 32, 48 pages long
oh
and
yeah.
they're kind of easy to kick out. So
Yeah, bang those out. Pat,
yeah.
you have a big event coming up Thursday night, right?
In my office?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Although it's tomorrow, you mean tomorrow night?
Oh, yeah, wow, it's tomorrow night.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's we just bought a new office, or moved into a new office, and we're gonna do some type of celebration.
yeah. Sounds good. Well, I will see you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Congrats. Hey guys, thank you very much. I hope the audience has a great time listening, and don't forget to go out and buy Managing Back Pain for Dummies. It will help your back, at least 80% of you, because 80% of you do suffer from back pain at some point in your life. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on, and to everyone, strength and honor.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you.
Pleasure.